help me DSG, I need to make more sales. Should I tweak my course? Should I tweak my funnel? What should I do? Coming up right now on the Rise to Top podcast. And welcome, my great and good friends, to the Rise to Top podcast. It's your great and good friend, David Seth McGarland, and hello here. Welcome back to yet another episode, and I am very excited to dive into this one today with Norman Eng. So Norman Eng is a Create Awesome Online Courses student, and he has launched his online course. And what I've noticed is, basically, this is funny, people have fallen into two categories. You haven't launched your online course, so there's a lot of things to do before that, or you have launched your online course and you're trying to figure out what to do now. He's launched his course and he's made some sales. But he's worried that something wasn't quite right because he made some sales, but he feels like he should make some more sales and he wants to kind of increase his conversion percentage moving forward, and he's not 100% sure what to do. Should he focus on ads? Should he focus on this or that? And he's kind of a little bit lost about where to focus and what to do from now. In fact, he says, what are the best ways to optimize my funnel? Do I split test things? What do I change? What do I not? And, mind explosion. And as we get into this episode, which I can tell you is extra in-depth here today, we go into all kinds of nitty-gritty here to help Norman, and I think you're going to pull a lot of great things for yourself and your business with this. Just keep this in mind, and this is repeated throughout this episode today. Always thinking about long-term with your online course. And I don't care if you haven't launched it yet or you've already launched it. This is a long-term business. A lot of people think, I have to launch right away and make $1 zillion to be successful. No. That's not how this business works. The key to success with this is looking at this at the long term for years, right? It's not about just launching and making $1 gazillion and trying to run away into the sunset. That's not how this works. We're looking at a long-term approach that you can make sustainable sales over time and increase it over time as well. So it's very different than a lot of people out there. Sometimes they teach it's all about the launch. It's all about this. The launch simply gets the ball rolling off the hill, down the hill, not off the hill, down the hill. And then we can tweak and go from there. So without further ado, let's bring in Norman. Let's find out about him. Let's find out about his challenges, and let's see if we can go through some solutions. All right, so now I am joined by Norman. Norman, you're coming at us from where today?
Coming from New York City.
All right.
Yeah.
Good old New York. I was just saying, actually, before we started this podcast recording, I feel like we've had a lot of international guests lately, right? So it's cool being back in the good old-fashioned United States of America, right?
Absolutely. I'm excited to be on this podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to hopefully helping out here a bit today. And I think a good place of starting is just a little context about you and who you are and what you teach online. I think this would be really interesting for everyone to learn about, and then we can kind of dive in as we get a little deeper.
Yeah, so my name is Norman Eng, and I'm actually the founder of Education by Design, which basically helps new professors become awesome teachers in the classroom. And that's really what the online course is about. I do have a PhD in education, and so I thought that this would be a good way to kind of get into the online game. But really, I started out thinking about, what should I go into? Is this something, since I have a background in education, I thought about what is the best way to kind of teach. And David, I don't know if you know this, but most professors never really learn how to teach. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it does a little bit, but now I'm thinking about it. I mean, who teaches the teacher, right?
That's correct. Because, all of these professors, in college and universities, they have PhDs like in whatever, chemistry, sociology, whatever. So they're experts in content, but it doesn't mean they know how to teach.
Right. That's a good point, because I'm thinking about that now when I went to Washington University in St. Louis. When I went there, and obviously I had a wide range of different types of professors and teachers, but you're right. There was a lot of it. They were a great researcher, or they had a great background, or they did something like in entrepreneurship. I actually wasn't in business school, but I took a couple business school classes. And, I remember the entrepreneurship teacher wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't call him a super professor, but he had great experience. So I get exactly what you're saying here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because, let's be honest, I'm sure your listeners, back in the day, they had professors who were also great, but maybe boring sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I realized that this was an issue. This was back in like 2012 when I first started teaching college. So I kind of leveraged my background because I used to be a public school teacher, and they actually had formal teacher training. And I also came from the world of advertising. I was actually a marketing executive back in the 90s. And think about it, teaching is really about communicating and, about getting students to quote unquote to buy into something.
Hmm.
So I think kind of my background with in public school as well as my background in advertising really helped. And that's kind of where my background came from. Because of my background in education, I thought about that it made sense to teach professors. And that's when I decided to write my book, kind of at that, college level. And it was a book called Teaching College. And I found out that it sold really well, sold much better than I could have possibly imagined because it was an Amazon bestseller in 7 different categories. And so from a business standpoint, I knew that I had a niche. Brand new professors teaching for the first time. That was my target.
Okay, so real quick here, just to dive a little deeper here too. So when your book, Teaching College, the Ultimate Guide to Learning, Lecturing, Presenting, and Engaging Students, which I love, what a great topic. And I love this topic. I mean, I love how specific it is. I love it. So my question on that, first of all, when did the book come out?
It came out in January 2017, so it's been almost 2 years.
Great. So a couple years ago. So, and I'm curious too, just about this niche as we dive into courses and all that kind of good stuff and all these different things today. When you were exploring this niche, because obviously you have the expertise for it, you have the background, you've got the PhD, you got the experience, you've written the book now on it, right? You've done all those things, which is great. And the course, which is called Teaching College Masterclass, right? But here's my question too, just out of curiosity. When you were getting started in this niche, was there anything like this out there at all?
I knew that there were a lot of books out there because probably one of the first things that I did was that I searched for it on Amazon, typing in stuff like Teaching College or college instruction. There are plenty of books on that. And the truth is that there are also some online courses about it as well. So I knew that there was a market.
Mm-hmm.
The only question is, were those books any good? Were the online courses any good? And so what I did was I actually went through some of the reviews for the books about this particular niche.
Smart.
And I found out that for a lot of these books, they were great. Customers said great things, but some of the criticisms were that, there was a lot of theory, or how do I apply this to the actual classroom? And that's kind of the thing that I think a lot of professors, they're so used to research. They're so used to speaking what I call academese kind of thing, language, that they're not actually thinking about it kind of from a business standpoint in terms of how to reach the target audience. And that's where I think my background in public school teaching as well as in marketing kind of came in, is that I knew that there's a lot out there, a lot of books out there. There's some online courses out there as well, but whether or not they were able to kind of boil it down to plain, simple language, that's something that I didn't see quite as much.
Right. And that's great. And that's, first of all, that shows that obviously there's a need for this. And by the way, even if you'd have told me there was nothing else, that would have been interesting in itself, because your book has also proven that there's a need for it, right? Because people have purchased it. But, and by the way, that's great advice too for folks that are researching or looking into niches or different things that they might do, is looking at book reviews can be actually very fascinating, right? Looking at the negative ones and seeing where there's gaps or holes. And that also becomes kind of part of your marketing, if that makes sense, right? Like when you're saying like, hey, listen, I was looking to do this and I found there was some books and some stuff out there, but you know what? They were all, boring, or they were all not really breaking it down step by step. And I ended up that I felt like I had a bunch of ideas when I was done, but I didn't have an action plan. Type of thing. Yeah. Right.
I think your listeners really kind of appreciate that kind of approach, because I think a lot of them who are thinking about, oh, what should I be teaching in my online course? Of course you could just Google it. That's a great way to do it as well. But I think that, going on Amazon and finding out if there are already books out there, that's just kind of one great validation technique. Is that if you're finding that there's a lot of stuff out there, then obviously there is a need for it. The question is, how do you differentiate yourself? And that's why I started looking at like the 3-star reviews on Amazon, because, you don't necessarily want to look at like the 0-star or the 1-star, because sometimes
you'll be like, you suck. It's going to be like something. Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Nothing helpful. And so what I found from the 3-star reviews is that you'll get like very constructive feedback about what customers thought about that particular book, and you learn from it. I took down notes. I found that a lot of them were saying, hey, this is great stuff, but it's all theory. I need something that's more plain spoken. So I wrote my book and I recorded my course in a way where I'm not using jargon, so whatever niche you're in, to kind of avoid that kind of stuff. And I think it really helped.
Cool. I love it. And it's always great advice. And I always say this, as you know, this is old news for you, but for listeners as well, is that's a great way to explore niches that you're thinking about for a course. If you're not 100% sure what your topic is, or you think that something, will it sell, right? Look what else is out there. Are there courses? Are there books? Are there people doing one-on-one coaching or seminars? What we're looking for are people spending money on this problem or for this ambition, right? That's the key that's out there. And it might be in a completely different format, but that'll help validate it as well. So, Norma, let's talk about the course itself now. First of all, with the course, it's my favorite. This is like my favorite question always to ask, because I feel like you learn a lot about people in this question. Is as you've been building this brand and as you've been building this course, what for you was the appeal? Why an online course? Why was that the kind of package or the mechanism or the business model that you wanted to use for this? What was the appeal for you? What was your why for this online course?
So that's a great question, David. I think part of it was, well, maybe two reasons. First of all, my book had done well. And so the book actually led to workshops. I started getting invitations to do workshops on college campuses, as well as one-on-one coaching. So I'll have participants at these workshops telling me that they love the step-by-step.
So just not to interrupt, but real quick to clarify on the workshop. So these were, you would go to a campus and teach professors basically and how to teach better. I got it. Okay.
That's exactly it. So they'll actually have me come over. They'll say, hey, listen, we have a lot of new professors coming out this year. Please show us the step-by-step. So that's exactly what I did. So I got a lot of good feedback from these workshops, and that gave me the idea to turn my book into a course, because I knew that they were looking for that step-by-step. The book kind of does that as well, but in a much, it's a lot different when you read a book versus actually doing it live. And so I thought kind of the online course would be just as immersive. There's just as much hand-holding as you would in a workshop, which is a good thing. And secondly, to be honest, I also saw the online course as a potential flagship product for my business, because it had that potential to bring in consistent, I don't want to say passive, but consistent income kind of at a higher price point than my book, and it allowed me to reach a lot more people than I would during a workshop. And so now I have this book, I have the workshops, and then I felt that the course was kind of the logical next step.
Love it. Now, as we get into this course too, let's talk about some numbers here as well, right? So first of all, just curious, when you were doing the workshops, which are great, and by the way, that's often a great way to get some great experience, some great, you can really get to hear from your potential customers too, right? Like they're right there in front of you. I mean, how cool is that? You're getting basically paid, or even if it was unpaid, to learn everything about your customers, which is great. So just curious, on the workshops here, were these paid opportunities? Were these, what were the, or did it vary, or how did that work? Just curious.
So I did paid for sure. And I think a lot of the ones who kind of invited me in, they were usually like the admins. They were like the provost of the university or whatever, or the deans or whatever. And so they had heard about me through my book. And so I have a lead magnet in my book that kind of says, hey, if you want more information, you can sign up and get blogs or whatever. But they had found out, and so they contacted me and they said, hey, listen, we want to bring you in. We want you to do a full day workshop. What can we talk about? So I really came in, I was charging thousands of dollars just to kind of come in to work with the professors. And that's what really led to kind of thinking that, hey, the online course is a possibility. So it's not the professors themselves who paid for it. It's the university that paid. And so for me, there was still kind of that question about whether or not professors would actually pay individually for an online course, because I know they'll pay for a lower price point, which is the book. The book is like, it's like $10 on Amazon, or it's like $25 for a paperback, whatever. So that's not such a big deal. Whether or not they would pay for an online course, for me, that was the big question going in.
Okay, awesome. So, by the way, just to give me context, because we're going to talk about pricing in your course launch and kind of our next steps here coming up. For context, you said thousands of dollars coming in for a workshop. Well, give me the range of how much would you charge? Just give me something just to go off of.
I'm really trying to push it up right now, but because I'm probably on the beginning side of workshop presentations.
You don't need to justify it.
Anywhere from 2,000 to about 5,000.
Love it. Okay.
I'm looking really to try to push it, because, from what I understand, like the ones who are really commanding good prices, we're talking about like 7,000, 10,000. I actually had a guy from one of the associations who wanted to bring me in, which I ended up not doing, but he said that, Norman, you were charging too low for this. I mean, they're on average, you should be charging anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 if you want to be taken seriously. But of course, universities, they're a little bit of a different beast as well. A lot of them, budget cuts and all that kind of stuff. So I have to kind of keep that in mind. But probably for my first few, we're talking about anywhere from 2,000 to about 5,000.
Which is great, by the way, And yeah, obviously that can scale up if that's what you want to do. But I'm using that also as kind of context for as we talk about pricing and launching with your course, right? As well, is what you charge for a workshop. So let's talk about the course. So the course, Teaching College Masterclass, and this is interesting. So your hypothesis or what you were testing was, okay, universities, they'll write a check. They'll have you come in, they'll teach, no problem. Universities historically have a lot of money, most of them. Question becomes, do these individual professors, are they willing to pay for this online training? So let's talk about this. So first of all, the course, I clicked on the link here today to take a look at it. Is that an accurate price? I saw it's $497. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And just curious, where did you get that number from? Or how did you conclude on that number?
I mean, the truth is that that's kind of just a number out there. I wasn't confident about charging 1,000. I just kind of do. Okay, so here's the deal. I kind of looked at my competition, and I saw there were other online courses out there, also by other professors that charge anywhere. This includes going to, what are those sites called? Like the ones that charge, like lynda.com.
Oh yeah, those and like Udemy and like the cheap sites.
Exactly.
I got it. We call those the cheapo depots.
Right. And so I saw they charged anywhere from like 50, like courses about teaching, like anywhere from like $10 to like 100 or something like that. And then I also looked at some of the other professors that did charge. There aren't a whole lot of other online courses out there specifically about teaching professors.
Sure.
But I saw the ones that charged the most in my niche was probably around like 150, maybe 199, something like that.
Got it. And you said, you know what, we're going to push the envelope, right? Is that what you decided to do? Got it.
I mean, basically kind of, especially with your course, you had talked a lot about making sure that, or not making sure, but just kind of thinking of placing yourself kind of in the upper echelon of your specific niche.
Yep.
And 497 just kind of seemed like a number that I've seen out there before. I wanted to test that number, and I wasn't confident enough to kind of push it to 1,000 at least yet. And so that's kind of where I ended up being.
Okay, I like it. Now, launch the course. When did you launch the course initially?
So I've only launched it one time, which was this past summer in July.
Cool. And what were your sales? And
so I had a list of about 2,400 people, which is not bad.
No, I mean that's extremely. I mean, assuming that it's I'm sure you're going to say yes on this, but a pretty targeted list because it's not like you were doing something else and then transfer the list or your personal brand shifted, which happens with some people. Like for example, like even me back in the day, before I took probably the harder route versus the easier route, was that I talked about different topics, then I shifted topics. So some people do that, but these are all people built around your book and things like, for the most part, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, they're basically. I got this list from whether it was guest posting or through the lead magnet in my book. So there are definitely people that are interested in teaching. The question is that I'm also getting a lot of teachers who are not necessarily college professors. So I'm getting a lot of K-12 public school teachers as well. Okay. So that was kind of my thing. Okay. But just to answer your question, I had about 2,400. In terms of sales, I had 11 sales by the end of the launch. So we're talking about like less than 1%, like half of 1%.
So 11 sales, and all right, so I'm just doing the math on that. So what's that, about 5,000? 5,500, something like that?
Yeah, exactly. In terms of revenue, absolutely. In terms of percent, we're talking about less than 1%.
0.5%.
Like 0.5. I wasn't sure if that was any good. I've heard that that's okay, but it ranges depending on the industry. Not sure. But I did find out that the open rates for my emails were about 10%. So I'm not really even sure. I use ConvertKit, but I'm not sure if that's any good.
Yeah, and here's the thing. And we're going to get into numbers and come up with some solutions and deep dive here and come up with some next things to do. And by the way, I mean, that's, congrats on the 5,500, right? And I always tell people, like, the launch, that's just a kicking off point, right? Now we can adjust, we can make things, like, a lot of people think it's funny that the launch is the end-all be-all, right? They've seen the hypey internet marketing crap that's out there that's like, you got to make 6 figures with your launch, 7 figures with your launch, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you know this, Norman, but, Renee Christine, one of our most successful Create Awesome Online Courses students, did $3,000 on her first launch, did $1.1 million last year, right?
Wow.
Okay.
Good to know.
And by the way, in less than 3 years. Let me just note that. Okay. So I do want to note this before we start deep dive. We're going to get in all kinds of nitty gritty here and strategies and things like that. I just want you to know that this is your starting off point. It's like it'd be like if you went to the gym and we just said, okay, let's just run your fastest for, 5 minutes or something, right? We don't know what that's going to, or, how fast can you run a mile? Okay, that's your starting off point. Some people might get in there and run it in 15 minutes. Some people might do it in 7. Some people might be super fast and do it in 5:30, right? Everyone's got a different starting point. It's what you do from there. It's what you do from there. So that's really what we're going to talk about. So a couple questions here as we get into this. Your email list, these 2,400 peeps, can you break down, it doesn't have to be obviously exactly, but where do you really find these? Where do these people come from?
So the 2,400 is really, I think I started out with a blog originally. And so I got very few people from it. And this was just a blog on, how to help teachers. But by that time, I had just come out with the book. This was back in January of 2017. So I had started the blog at the same time as when the book came out. But I had heard that it was a good idea to kind of put a little lead magnet in the book. So this way, when someone comes in the book, they can opt in. But it was around that time that I also done some promotions as well. So I had done guest posting. So I did blog posts for a couple other bloggers out there who had big subscriber lists. And that's really, I think, where the majority of my subscribers came from. I did some articles about how to teach at the college level. And a lot of people started coming over. They started signing up. And I think with one blogger, I got maybe 500 to 700 people just over the course of a few days. And so again, I just started building off of that. And then it started increasing based off of the lead magnets that's in my book. Mm-hmm. And so that's really where they come from. Like I said before, I wasn't really sure if these were how qualified the leads were. Now, I knew that they were teachers. I just didn't know what percent of them were college professors versus K-12 teachers. And so that was really kind of my concern. And so when I got, 10% open rate in terms of opening up my email campaign, I couldn't tell. So I guess I could ask them, but I wasn't sure.
It's interesting. Numbers are numbers, right? We talk about this, that the best thing to do is really to create your own data and compare it against itself. Right?
Right.
Because I know people that get 70% open rates on a teeny tiny email list. I know people that get a 5%, open rate and have $1 million business, right? So the open rates I'm less concerned about. I do think that we can work on, what I think your next, see, this is the thing, and you know this, but just repeating this for everybody out there, is that this is all about long-term. It's all about long-term. This is going to be your next few years, right? It's not going to be about, what are we going to do in the next, 3 minutes to fix this? Otherwise, we pack up our wagon and go home, right? Because what this is going to be, really what we're going to kind of outline here a little bit is some things that you could do over the next year, right? That you can start on right now, right? Starting right now. But really, I think your next year is going to be all about kind of a little bit of experimentation, optimizing, and really getting in this to a well-oiled machine.
Right.
That's what it's going to be about.
Yeah, I agree. Because now that I've had the launch, it's like, I'd like to go evergreen, but I don't want to do that until I've either hit a certain mark in terms of, you're converting at 1% as opposed to half of 1%, or, that I know for a fact that my copy is better or whatever.
Sure.
Before I go evergreen. I don't want to go evergreen and then, come out and get crickets,
Right. And it's funny that people do make that mistake. They do make that mistake. They think, well, I have this launch, and regardless of how they feel about it, right? They think, well, I'm going to evergreen right away, right? And the way that I like to approach this, let's do some tweaks and some tests and some more live things, then take the very best and evergreen that, right? Because right now we don't know. For example, is 0.5% the best we're ever going to do? I think you can do a lot better. Now, but here's the thing. But let's just say it was the best. Well, then we can evergreen it. At least you'd have some numbers to go off of. But this was just your first try. There's lots of things that we can do from here. Now, a question here. Did you get any solicited or unsolicited feedback from this yet?
From the course itself?
Yeah, or just from, well, let's talk about, first of all, two ends. First of all, how are these 11 folks liking it?
So far, so good. Like, I've sent follow-up emails, maybe let's just say a month. So this was back in July, early August. So sometime in September, I sent an email. And then I sent a follow-up email in October. I'm getting a few feedback. The thing is that I know that professors are ridiculously crazy once the semester starts, right? So we're in the fall semester. And so I get it because I've taken courses around this time and it's difficult for me to go back into it. So that's one thing. I did get a few comments back and they were all positive. One of them said that so far was fantastic. It's just that it's going to take a while because he's going to try to do it on each of the weekends, successive weekends. So I know that I have at least one good testimonial from it. She said that it really helped her with her. It confirmed things that she thought about teaching, as well as gave her some new ideas, and she gave some specifics. So I'm definitely going to use that in the testimonial. But I have one solid testimonials. A couple others have said positive things so far, but it was one of those I'm still in the middle of it, or I just started it, and I'm going to finish it, throughout the semester.
Right.
So I'll definitely use what I can, other than kind of sending follow-up emails. I'm not sure whether or not I need to do anything else more than that. I probably could try to set something up with maybe phone calls and see if I can help them directly. And
no, I think you're good with that. I think. Have you also heard from people that did not buy? Did you ever hear any feedback at all?
No, and I think that's probably where I probably could have sent an email. Looking back, probably sent an email and say, hey. Or maybe send a mass email saying, hey, I didn't hear back and just wondering if you didn't buy, what was the reason for it? Looking back, I think that was probably what I should have done. I did not do that, so I don't know. But I did also find one other interesting thing. I actually got one email from a professor who emailed me about something else, right? She loved the book. So she had written about how she liked the book. But I incidentally found that she was interested in the course, and I checked her name in my email responder and found out that all of the emails were sent to her, and I asked her why it wasn't opened. And she did a little digging. She found out it went to spam.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a part of me that's thinking, okay, if I'm getting a 10%, open rate, it could just be that there are many people like her whose the whole email campaign just kind of went to spam and then they never even got it. And so for me, that was an issue. So I've been talking to ConvertKit about that with the email autoresponders just to kind of see if there are ways that I can minimize that. And so I got some ideas based off of that. But I'm actually, for me, that's somewhat of an encouraging thing because even though they're spam, it's telling me that it's not an issue of my offer per se.
She wasn't like, hey, I saw your offer, it's crap. Right? It was like, I didn't see it.
She actually told me. She actually said that, hey, listen, I just joined I know you're closed right now in terms of enrollment, but I'm interested, so I joined the wait list. So if and again, that's why I came back and said, wait a minute, you've been on my email list. I was just thinking to myself, you're on my email list for several months now. So I know you definitely got the email about this launch. And now you're telling me you're interested. And so there were red flags going in my mind. So for me, it was kind of a good sign. Now I just need to figure out what's going on. Why am I getting into spam? So that's definitely an issue that actually for your listeners, something to really think about. And you had just kind of brought this up as well, that you're not so concerned about open rates because it could be many reasons why subscribers aren't opening up your emails, spam being one of them. And like I said, that for me is probably the best, at least it was good news for me, sort of.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I'm thinking here. I'm writing down notes as we go to kind of brainstorm some ideas here because I think this is a great course. I think you're doing a great thing. I think this could be big. It's figuring out what to do. Now, question here. Do you think, before I even get into the strategies, right? Do you think, and you mentioned this earlier, and I'm just curious about this. Is this a case, and this is kind of unique to you and your situation, but is this a case, does it make sense to sell directly to teachers, or does it also make sense to try to sell to universities that therefore give them to the teachers?
Yeah, so I've definitely thought about this because I thought, just from a business standpoint, which is better to kind of reach my target market? And also just in terms of sales, in terms of volume, it would certainly be easier to sell to universities because then let's just say they have 50 new professors coming in and they want to have a course to kind of help these professors. But at the same time, it also means I have to go through their gatekeeper.
100%. It's a completely different sales process.
It's a very different sales process. And actually, I know that I'm also competing with other institutions. So there's this institution called, for example, the Association of College and University Educators. So they're professional institutions and they have a course just like mine, except they're selling it directly to colleges and universities. So they're doing like volume sales. So you have 50 to 100, let's just say 100, maybe even 200 faculty members who need this course. So they talk with the university, they reserve 100 spots, and that's how they go. Meanwhile, I'm selling individually. But just like I said, from a business standpoint, it certainly makes sense for me to go from an institution standpoint. But now I'd be competing with them.
Okay.
And so there's this issue of, I don't want to say credibility because I'm credible. It's just that they have a lot more money. They have a lot more, they're able to kind of make videos that are professionally done. They could hire actors, whatever. As opposed to me, I'm doing everything myself. And so there's that part of the process that I have to think about in terms of who am I competing with? Am I able to compete with these other professional organizations? So I'd love to kind of go with both, but I'm also hitting a little bit of an obstacle in terms of not necessarily sure how to approach selling to institutions, which I've kind of done a little bit of versus selling.
Right, which is a whole different animal. It's a whole different animal, right? I mean, like, meaning I'm thinking off the top of my head, it's not something I've personally done, but what I would do if it was me and I had a direct pipeline in there, you could go in and say, hey, listen, this is my course. It's $497. If you hire me to do a workshop or maybe even, or just want to work with me, we could do a special discounted rate per professor to like $297 or something. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, with a volume or maybe there's some kind of scale there. It's like, hey, if you've got, 10 or under, it's this price. If you've got 10 to 50, it's this price.
Right.
50 or more is this price. I mean, but again, yes, I'm just thinking like, oh my God, how would I generate revenue? That's not really online sales I'm talking about. That's a whole nother little animal, but it's definitely something to think about, Well,
I did it with my online course. So part of this launch, I actually had one administrator from a college who said that, hey, listen, we have a small college. We have 10 new professors who are who might be interested in doing this. Can I buy your course? And then this way you'll just send the emails and the usernames to these 10 professors. And so technically, even though I had 11 sales, I actually have 22 or 21 professors who are taking this course because one of those sales is 10 spots. And so I did just kind of like you said, basically, if you have 1 to 10 sales, this is how much I'll charge. If you're for 11 and 20, this is how much I charge. The only question is that that's happened one time, but I'm not exactly sure how should I approach that kind of if I want to do volume sale.
Got it. And that's a whole different animal. So let's talk about kind of the online thing. Now, question 2, can professors, if they enroll in your course, can they get reimbursed?
So I haven't made that an option. I know that I have had professors who's asked me, hey, could I get either a discount or can I go through my university and then have them pay for it? To which I've said, yes, absolutely. Just have them contact me. All right. So that hasn't happened yet, even though someone has brought it up. I haven't done any kind of reimbursement thing because I just haven't come to that point yet.
Right. And I'm not talking about you actually doing anything. I'm talking about more, can they, like, I'm trying to think, and again, I could be wrong on this. I'm just thinking out loud. Like, meaning if professors
professional development
allow,
right?
yes, some continued education, professional development, if that was possible or even sort of possible, I would have that in my copy, like say, hey, this might not be applicable, but guess what? A lot of people can take this to their department or their whatever it might be for continued education as well, right?
So you're absolutely right. I think maybe it does make sense for me to say in my copy to these professors that, hey, listen, if you can get this reimbursed, you can talk with your administrator, have them contact me directly. I do have a separate sales page specifically for institutional buys. Part of me hesitates to also put that in the copy as well, because I feel like if someone is actually interested, they could either buy now and buy it for themselves, or they would have to go through the long process of I don't know if it's a long process, but they'd have to ostensibly kind of go to their administrator, tell them about it, have the administrator call me, and then we can go through that way, in which case it's much more of a, I might lose the sale, so to speak. So, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure if I should do that.
Okay. So what do you think your next move, what do you want to do?
I think, so for me, the big goal really is I want to optimize my funnel, and I want to find out, is there a problem with my offer? Is it a problem with my sales copy, or is it a spam issue? Maybe that's the thing. And so I'm kind of getting there right now. And so I'm trying to find out what is the best way for me to kind of test whether or not, it's a funnel issue, or if my sales copy is good enough, if my offer is good enough. I followed kind of the suggestions that you made in your course, the CAOC course. I'm just not sure before I go into Evergreen. Is there anything else that I could be doing to make sure that my funnel's good? Stuff
Yeah.
like
So, I mean, I think, so first of all, I think the next thing for you to do is let's get another live launch on the calendar. Okay. And I understand that a lot of people are that have already seen it or whatever it might be. That's not even important because we're going to tweak a few things, right? Because what I'm almost thinking here is that you need to at least start with one, right? And you could even go quarterly next year with this, but I'm saying start with one where we're going to make a couple tweaks and we're going to see how that goes versus the first one.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds good.
So what I would say is for this next launch, a couple things. Number one, and you know how I feel about this because you have to have a few things in place, right? I would definitely implement a payment plan.
Okay.
So that's number one. And the thing is, what I love what's fun about tweaking these things, and this is why I'm always like, get your darn course out there and launch, which is what you've done, because it's a lot easier to tweak now. It's a lot easier to tweak than if you haven't launched, right? Because we don't know what we're tweaking, right?
Can I ask you why payment plan? Because I know that, in your initial course where you talked about like just not making it difficult for yourself.
Yes,
and
two reasons.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
So
two reasons.
What I want.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, that's exactly what I encourage people to do. So meaning on your first course, on your first launch, I would not encourage people to do a payment plan. You know this because it could be a little tricky. There's some moving parts with it. Unless, by the way, I always give people this disclaimer, unless they have like a lot of experience with payment plans and something else, right? If you know what you're doing with payment plans, great. If not, it's just too complicated to have for a first launch for most people. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because that goes back to the whole philosophy that I have that's very different than a lot of people out there and a lot of people that are now out of business, which is that this is a long-term process and you don't almost reveal all your cards right away.
I see.
Does that make sense? Because we just got our first customers in. Now let's get some more, and we keep kind of building on top of it. Because here's another couple things about payment plans. Number one, now when you come out with a payment plan, boy, does that look real different to a lot of people that have already seen that offer.
Got it.
Does that make sense? We call it an excuse to a certain degree. Like, by the way, we now have, 5 payments of 97 or something. Or I'm sorry, it would be probably maybe 6 payments of 97.
Right. That makes sense. Especially because I'm looking to probably, I'll launch it at least twice a year because there are 2 academic semesters. So it's usually right before the academic semester that I'll have professors interested in this course. So I'll probably do it maybe December or early January, something.
Yes. So I like the idea of doing that. And, it could be, you could tweak around what you want to do with it. I like the idea of maybe either, if you want to go long, 6 payments of 97, or if you want to do a little bit shorter, it could be like 3 payments of 197, right?
And I'm sure that like I use Paid Memberships Pro or whatever membership plugin I use, they'll do these kinds of payment plans.
They should look at that. It's one of those things that it'll take a little grit to figure out, but it's not going to be anything prohibitive. You know what I mean? And then, there's a couple things that go along with that. Nothing too crazy, just, reminder emails on payments. And obviously you're going to have a few different things that go on with that. But I'm just kind of giving the big picture standpoint is that a payment plan, I think, will be very interesting to see because, now what if, twice as many people buy because of that? That'll be interesting. Right?
Yeah.
And we don't know. We don't know. We're going to test things that have been proven, but we don't know what your audience is going to respond to until we try it. Right?
Yeah, I did actually have one person email me asking if there were discounts on it. And I said, no, it is what it is kind of thing. But I think with a payment plan, maybe that might entice.
Yeah, and what you do with a payment plan is you make a massive deal about how much it costs to get started today and why that's an amazing deal. Like, get started today for just $97. Do you know what I mean? Get started today for $197 or whatever it is. Because now
sense.
Already I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot cheaper type of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's a different mentality. And so what I always tell people too, and this is funny, that you'd be surprised that people don't do this, and this is a big mistake, is that people will make some kind of important tweak like that and not say anything about it. Like you want to make a massive deal about it, like a massive deal, like any little. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I'm being sarcastic here, but I don't care if I change my sales page from like orange to blue. I will start telling everyone about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you want to tell people like, hey, this is different. This is new. We call this like an excuse or whatever it might be, right? So that's one tweak that I think would be great. You already have, I checked your sales page, you already have a money back guarantee, right? And that's on there. It's a big deal. What I would also try to highlight in your copy a little bit is anything that, and this could be in your lead up too, right? Is taking away the biggest barrier that people might have for this, which is not cost, it's time.
Okay.
Don't you think? Because I would think that it's not cost. I mean, yeah, it's a premium course. It's expensive. It should be, right? It's an investment. But I think what you mentioned earlier is that you know this because you're in the same shoes as these professors. You know that the biggest challenge is, oh my God, I've got my life, I've got my course. Now I got to also learn to be a better teacher. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would make a big deal about your lead up and in your sales copy and all that kind of stuff about, I don't want to say how easy it is to implement, but making it say like, hey, it's just 20 minutes a day. Some I don't know exactly how you would word it, but I'm saying that you would make it where it's like, hey, making sure that they know that the investment that they put in this is going to come back out in spades and therefore it's worth it for them, right?
Yeah, when I did kind of some of my validation research with these professors, talking with them one-on-one, they said that time is the number one factor because they're working, 60-hour, work weeks. And so for them, it's just, I don't think that I probably emphasize enough. I do talk a little bit about the fact, my videos average 8 minutes or whatever. I know that's, I know the length of the video is not such an important thing per se, but maybe it is worth it for me to kind of talk about frustrations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And say, hey, listen, for an extra cup of coffee, you can now walk into your class feeling fully confident that you know what you're doing and talking about, right? Like you might be a subject matter expert, but you might not be a teaching expert. But for an extra cup of coffee a day, imagine the peace of mind knowing that's going to cut your struggles in half or whatever it might be, right?
So I'll definitely talk about the time thing. That makes a lot of sense.
So kind of some copy things. And that's the cool thing as you start to evolve this course, right? Is you get to learn about where those struggles and pain points might be that might prevent someone from taking it, right? And kind of alleviate that. And another thing to think about is with bonuses, okay? Is think about a bonus. And again, I don't want to give you too many things for this next launch, but I do want to give a couple, right? I'm not going to give you 50, but I'm going to give you a couple things. I think a payment plan's number one, right? Because I want to make this very actionable for you. I don't want to be like, here's 30 things. And I also think especially when you're doing live launches like this, like, you can tweak a few things. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to just be one little thing, like you just change one headline. I mean, no, you can do a few things, right? So the second thing is, if you know that that's a big barrier, is time, right? Is there some kind of bonus you could create? It could be something very simple that would help alleviate that problem.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Is it's the ultimate time saver, the Cliff's Notes version. Just something. I'm just brainstorming here, right? But something that you can then make a big deal out of in your marketing and saying, listen, you know what? I know your time is valuable. I was a professor. I am a professor. I did this, and that. I understood. Sometimes I didn't have time to go to the bathroom, right? How are you going to have time to do this course? Well, we've made it even faster with this quick start guide.
Okay.
Something that alleviates the problem. Like that's what we always, like I do that in Create Awesome Online Courses, for example, is that one of the biggest challenges people have with courses is overwhelm.
Yeah.
Right? All these things they need to do, it's overwhelming to a lot of people, right? So how do you make overwhelm easier? Well, we've got the ultimate course planner. That's like a fill in the blank as you go. We've got other little shortcuts. So that's another way to think about that. Could you stack a bonus in there that is just like, oh my God, well, this has been the problem, right?
Okay. That makes sense. I think it's, I could probably maybe do some sort of, summarize kind of like the main insights or whatever from the videos into one cheat sheet type thing as a bonus. I got to put some thought into that, but something that'll make them think, you know what, this will really be a time saver kind of thing. So.
And then the final thing that we'll discuss here is the funnel itself, right? So what's the funnel right now? What's it look like? So
the funnel it's about 11 emails, and kind of like it's made up of the first 3 or 4 is the the free 3-part video training series, and the rest of it is kind of that sales funnel. Sales page that goes into the sales page, and I have a couple of things that talk about who's it for, who's it not for, why you want to join, stuff like that, info about the course. But that's really what it is. It's 11 emails, basically following kind of a recommendation. But yeah,
a couple things on that. First of all, as you get closer to this next launch. And by the way, I'm going to make you report back on this too. So, is that as you get closer, because I know you got students in there, I would definitely reach out to students and try to get some love. Okay. Right? Sending an email out, just be like, hey, listen, I want to brag about you. I want to tell people about your results. Let me know. And whatever it might be, like respond to this email. if someone's really good, you could hop on an interview with that, whatever. But I'm saying I would add that then, and then that could be a little bit part of your sales emails too, right? Sales card open as you say, hey, here's George Smith, and George Smith, was so stressed that he couldn't get out of bed in the morning before he was teaching his class. Now he just comes in and eases out, and now he has time to see his wife, right? Something like that.
So really use the testimonials
right.
kind of in the sales copy.
You started with the way most courses start. It depends on your background, but the way that most courses start is they start with your story. Okay. Right? Like this is me a lot of times. Do you know what I mean? And then over time, that story evolves to like, hey, it's my story, and plus here's all the people that I've helped. Right? And by the way, some people start the other way because maybe they started as a one-on-one coach and they already have some testimonials on that topic. But a lot of people also start with, hey, this is what I've done, right? Type of thing. So then you can start to get a little more social proof in there. And that's a good thing. And we're just talking about, again, moving forward. You didn't need that for your first launch. But I'm saying moving forward, all these little things can add up, right? Because now what if we go from 0.5% to 1%? Or what if we go from 0.5% to 5%, right?
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing, right? I think you'd be happy with that. What's the front end of the funnel? Like, can people opt in for the video series? Do people opt in for something? What is it?
So for this particular launch, I just launched it to my email list. I didn't kind of do outreach. I didn't do kind of cold, opt-ins and stuff like that. So I already had 2,400 people on my list. And so I jumped right into, hey, guess what? I want to give you as much value as possible. Here's a free 3-part video training series. But now, with the next launch, I actually created a quick start guide, 7 proven steps to help you teach more effectively. And so that will be the kind of the opt-in for people to go into. And that kind of leads me to my other question that I had, which was about, trying to get cold subscribers, so to speak. You've talked about Facebook ads and things of that nature. I wasn't sure about that since my first launch was just directly to my own subscriber list. And so I'm a little tepid in terms of not knowing how to kind of reach outside of my email list, especially if I want to grow for this next launch.
Yeah, so I think so. First of all, and that's exactly where I was going with this. So we're on the 100% the same page here. This next launch that you do is kind of dual edge to a certain degree, right? Because number one, you're going to be relaunching to people that already saw it. Okay. And by the way, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to mention the past launch to these people. You just say, hey, here's our new stuff and here's what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, this is not two separate categories of people. Cool people and the people on your list are going to be the same for this launch.
Interesting.
Okay. Because always people assume like everyone's going to, they've already seen all this or whatever. Don't worry about that. Right. As you already saw, a lot of people didn't open the emails.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I wouldn't even worry about that because that's not even important. But I do think there's a tremendous opportunity here to get some new people and new blood into the mix. Okay. New blood into the mix. And by the way, obviously, you'll do this through ConvertKit. I don't want to get too technical, but you obviously want to mark these new people too, just for entertainment purposes. Not really, but for purposes of research in the future. Wouldn't it be interesting if you got, let's say, 500 new people, and those people converted much higher than the people that are already on your list? That'd be interesting.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? But we don't know yet. We don't know yet, but I'm saying like, what if we realize later on that maybe those 2,400 people, well, some of them are right, but some of them weren't. But now that if you're actively promoting this very specific lead magnet, you're going to get those right people. And we'll talk about promoting that in a second. But I'm saying that that's the key. I'm thinking that you need to get new targeted people on there as well.
Okay. And it's perfect. So I know ConvertKit, you could tag new people.
Call them cool new person, right? You know what I mean? It's easy. So what I would say is, and again, I know I'm giving you a lot today, but I know you can handle it. And also that we're not doing too much, right? Because if you think about it, it's just a few tweaks in the funnel, number one. A few tweaks. That's not a big deal. Now we're talking about the front end, bringing in some new people. So first of all, obviously you need to make a huge deal in your copy about what that guide is and how it not how it relates to your course, but it's going to be the exact same topic. So it's basically like selling your course minus a course. When you're doing a landing page, if you think about it that way, because you're basically selling the problem. You're saying, hey, listen, like if here's one of I was a professor and no one taught me how to teach, right? Like make a big deal out of that so that the people that when they opt in for this, they're only going to be the right people.
Oh, but these are for the new people,
new people.
Cold.
Talking about cold people. So meaning like on that landing page, I love the guide. Perfect. Right? Because then you could do a guide and then you could send them some stuff leading up to the launch and then give them the video series and go into the launch. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But the guide is the new front end lead magnet.
Yeah, which I didn't have before. So I definitely had this. Yeah.
Yes, this can make a difference. This is going to make a difference. All these things are going to add up. Promise you. So
Okay.
with that lead magnet, yeah, exactly. Like the only people that are going to download this are going to be the perfect person.
Right.
That's it. And you need to make sure it's that way. Meaning, like, you don't want it to be like, this is for teachers and construction workers.
Do you think I should send this guide also to my existing 2400 or
100%.
now it's like 20? Oh, okay. Okay. Because I originally just kind of pictured it for the new cold subscribers.
Nope, but I would time it as you get closer to the launch.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? Here, free gift leading up to the launch. So like meaning, so what I would say, yeah, I would almost, now that I'm thinking about it too, what I would do is the sales emails can be the same or similar than what you did last time, right? You might want to, mess around with subject changes and little tweaks. And like I said, add in a testimonial here or there. And obviously a massive deal about the payment plan.
Right.
But how about leading up to it, if it was just, as opposed to, because you've already sent the free video series to those 2,400 people, right?
Yeah.
So I would send the guide and then some emails leading up to the launch.
Okay. So there's going to be a slightly different campaign.
Yes. Now that you express that, I know I said that you treat them the same. What
Right.
I'm talking about more is the open cart is the same.
Okay. So I send the guide and the emails, the sales funnel part of the emails to them, not the videos to the existing.
I would say yes,
subscribers.
because you already kind of did the video series launch with them. So I would say call this the guide and payment plan launch, right?
Got it.
So meaning
Got it.
it's like, hey, so like let's say if the launch was, I'm making this up, let's say it's on, you're going to open the card on, I don't know, January 10th, right? I'm making that up, but whatever. Then or let's call it December. Let's say you're going to open the card on Christmas just for entertainment. Is people are always like, should I open it during the holidays? Doesn't matter. There's always a holiday going on. Unless your specific audience is Santa's working on December 25th, I think you're okay. So let's just say you're opening on December 25th, right? Like it might be a case of on December 20th or something, you send out that guide. And you say, hey, by the way, I've got some exciting things coming behind the scenes. I'm going to be letting you know about it over the next few days or whatever it might be. And then you could even send the guide again, a little hint, send the guide again, a little hint, and then open the cart.
Got it.
Type of thing.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Because I always thought it just feels a little bit weird to kind of do this second launch to those who didn't buy the first time, but also knowing that they didn't necessarily open those emails the first time
There's
around.
so many different things. They might even, some people might have completely forgotten who you are. Some people might have been on a trip for a month. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many different things that the timing might not have been right. And what I always tell people is you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised like how many people buy or enroll in my course like that have heard about it 7, 8, 9, 10 times. But oftentimes in different ways.
I've heard somewhere, I don't remember where I heard this from, but I've heard that stacking funnels kind of one on top of each other. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that in some cases it actually is good because that first time you send out your funnel or whatever, they may or may not have heard the message. You hear it again, I might think, intuitively that's didn't we just see this before? But I've heard that actually stacking it a second time in a row, they're actually open to it because they've been warmed up to it.
You are absolutely right on that. And it's funny that you might, way in the future here, right? It might be a case of someone opts in for your guide, they go through a few emails, and they get a sales funnel. Then maybe they get a couple weeks of tips and stuff like that, and then they get the video series and more sales emails.
Okay.
So they might be getting 2 launches within, let's say, 6 weeks, and you'd be surprised what happens to that. But that's a long-term thing, but you were absolutely right on that, right? Because what's neat about this is that as you build different little funnels and test and tweak different things, then you can stack them and you can have all this cool stuff that you can evergreen in the future, but you'll know which ones work. Do you know what I mean? And then you can tweak that. So that's why it's always like, and people might listen to this and they might get a little overwhelmed about all the things we're talking about. But here's the thing. You got to realize you've already done your launch. You already have paying customers in. You already have a lot of things in place. You've got your sales funnels. You've got different things. Now we're just tweaking. We're adding, we're subtracting, we're doing different things. And I think that's going to make a major difference, So I would say, yes, the guide and then some emails after that. And you can get creative with that. I mean, that could be, if I was like, it's almost like, each launch can be kind of centered around a linchpin of some piece of content. Do you know what I mean? And in this case, it would be the guide, right?
Yeah.
So then for the new people, you got the guide, and then you could do, it's up to you. I'll leave it up to you. You could go guide into video series into launch, or you could go guide into emails into launch. That's either way. It's totally cool, right?
Oh, interesting.
That's up to you. But I'm saying like, I think I would do video series for new people as well, right?
I'd agree too. I think that I got a lot of good feedback, or at least comments on my video series, so it seems like that's a no-brainer.
So I'd stick with that. Then
Yeah.
I would say the simplest thing to do, and again, we don't have time to go in this type of episode. And by the way, we just shot, fun fact on this as I talk about Facebook ads for a quick second, is that we have, I don't know if you know this, Norman, but I've got a new course that's coming out, which is going to be awesome at working on behind the scenes, teaching people how to get their first or next 1,000 email subscribers.
That's
right?
awesome.
And I'm super excited about it. And what I've also done with that, similar to Listapalooza that's in Create Awesome Online Courses, I brought on we're going to have about 15 or 20 people sharing traffic strategies. And the idea there is that people can then choose 1 to 2 that works with them, their situation, their budget, their personality, right? Because you never want to do more than that, like 1 or 2 at a time, because that's a good way to explode, right?
I have to say that my biggest challenge, aside from just kind of tweaking the funnel and optimizing all that stuff, is getting cold subscribers. So for me, that's a godsend.
Yep, and let me just share you what I would do. I mean, based on your situation is, and we just did a great session. This is gonna be in the new course with Tamiko Kelly, who just, by the way, did one of the coolest Facebook ad sessions that I've ever seen. It was so awesome, right? It's like this really simple Facebook ad strategy. But basically, that's what I would do in terms of, if you're looking for the most bang for your buck, I would do Facebook ads starting at $10 a day.
Okay.
And I would do Facebook ads leading them to this guide, do you know what I mean, with a really cool picture like of a stressed out professor or a guy, you could test different things. And I would target interests and things related to professors. So whether there's people that they would follow, or groups or pages that these professors would follow, or maybe you could target their interests. And what I would do is, one more tip on that too, is you're going to want to keep your little groups smaller. This is something I learned from Tamiko. It's going to be in the new course. This is a really interesting thing when you get into Facebook ads. Okay. And again, we don't have time to go through like every Facebook ad nitty gritty thing. But here's the thing is, you want to stay like somewhere between like 300,000 to 1 million people in those targeted ads that you're going to do. And you could see that on the right side when you go in there and start messing with interests. So that's a sweet spot that we found for $10 a day.
Okay. 300,000 to 1 million.
Yep. Because here's the thing, what we learned is less than 300,000, Facebook like doesn't know how to adjust their algorithms, and they start panicking and be like, that's too few people. We don't know if we're serving the ads to the right person, right? And over 1 million's too many. So it's like that 300,000 to 1 million has been the special range that we found. So, all you simply do is create, and you could do several ads if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? But if I were to focus on one strategy for bang for your buck based on your situation and what you're giving away, that's what I would do.
Okay. Sounds good. Facebook ads is something I've been thinking a lot about. I've also heard about Google AdWords. I just didn't know, because I don't hear you talk as much about Google AdWords.
I don't have any, I am not anti-Google. I'm very pro-Google. I'm pro anything that gets us our customers, right? I personally don't have experience with it.
Okay.
So I can't really comment on it. I know that could be something. And by the way, feel free to go and experiment. You know what I mean? Like I think, because if you could turn advertising into profit, then you've got the gold mine, right?
Well, the only reason why I brought up AdWords was because I know that with Facebook, there's a bit of a passivity to that, meaning that people who are on Facebook or on social media are doing other things.
Yeah, versus actually searching for a topic. I get what you're saying. Yeah, and here's the thing. Yeah. Listen, I'm just not an AdWords expert by any means, nor do I play one on TV. But I could tell you that, if that's something that you want to explore, I would totally encourage that. I wouldn't discourage you and say, oh my God, you have to do Facebook or dead. No. If you want to go in there and give that a shot and stay with a reasonable budget and see what happens, because a lot of the times this is now just becoming, you've got the funnel, you've got the topic, you've got the course. Now it's just like, okay, let's give it a shot. How much can you put a little bit of money in it? And please do. And then, by the way, you could do a session on AdWords, Norman. If you start rocking it with AdWords, we'll record a session on showing what you did. How's that?
Awesome.
Done? Deal?
Love it.
All right, cool. So I think we've covered a ton here today. We have covered a ton. I think we've got some great tweaks. Do you want to kind of just repeat back your action items just to make sure we're on the same page?
Yeah, absolutely. I know probably the first thing I'm going to do is, which I have to do a little research on, is definitely add in the payment plan. And make a huge deal out of that. So this way it's an excuse. It's just like you said, it's an excuse, and it makes it a one big thing that I've added to the course that might overcome a certain obstacle that some of the buyers might have regarding getting the course. So that's one thing. The second thing was really talking about emphasizing in the copy of the sales about saving time, because this is definitely one of the big factors in my course in terms of frustration. Probably not just my course, but most other people who are doing online courses, saving time. And then in the bonus part, really talking about how can I alleviate or actually just kind of maybe adding in some sort of other, maybe a quick start guide or something that will really help them save time, something that they'll look at and say, oh, wow, this one quick start guide can really help me save time. And so throwing that in the bonus thing. And finally, just kind of reaching out to other students and getting testimonials that I could add to the sales page, and then of course the Facebook ads. So
right, and the funnel and things like that, and then obviously making a big deal out of the tweaks that you make, right? And so
absolutely, yep.
So yeah, I mean, you were on the right track. I want you to definitely report back, because now we've got our baseline, and now we're going to try to improve it. It's like going to the doctor or something, and they say, "Here's your your health and your blood counts, and right here it is. Now let's try to improve it, right? By the time next time we come." And so, Norman, good luck. I mean, this was super. I think we've covered everything we need to. You were on the right track, and just be sure to report back. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested to find out how it goes, and good luck with everything.
David, thank you so much. This has given me a lot to think about, and I'll definitely let you know, because I think for a lot of students, we focus so much on how do you do your first launch, but then you also have a large segment of students who've done their launch, and it's kind of like, what's the next step? So I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, you're very welcome. And by the way, we might have, you never know, we might have some aspiring, or we might have not aspiring, we might have actual professors here in the audience. We also might have people that just are curious of what you're up to. Is there any links people should check out to find out more about you? You can check out the book or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, you could pretty much find out everything from my website, which is normaneng.org. That's kind of where you'll see the book as well as the online course and everything, as well as you can get the lead magnet from there too. Especially if your listeners want to just check out like what I did in terms of the quick start guide, they can get that there as well as information about me, my bio.
All right, normaneng.org is the place to go. Well, thanks, Norman. Appreciate it, and thanks for coming on. And I hope this helped out.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, David.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Man, we got really nitty-gritty today on today's episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Always feel free to send me little podcast feedback, david@therisetoop.com. Always love to hear from you. I really enjoy doing these sessions and helping people. And Norman and I were actually talking right after we stopped recording today, and he said that he really likes these sessions. I mean, because it's very different. He said, a lot of podcasters have experts on talking about whatever their expertise is. He said, what, I really like the Rise to Top podcast because I bring on students to talk about successes. We talk about challenges. We talk about failures, how we can turn them into successes everywhere along the journey. I hope you enjoyed it as well. So reminders, new episodes of the Rise to Top podcast are out every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central. And you can subscribe up at therisetoop.com/subscribe. Lots of different ways you can subscribe up to the podcast. And by the way, if you're on iTunes right now or checking out on iTunes, would love a little review. If you want to give some love to the podcast at therisetoop.com/iTunes. Thank you so much in advance for that. And also, if you are ready to get going on your course creating journey and become the next success story, I would love for you to check out my Create Awesome Online Courses program, the #1 program I can confidently say in the world when it comes to creating a successful online course. You could go to createawesomeonlinecourses.com/unlock for a special offer just for listeners of this podcast. All right, my friends, I will see you next time. This has been David Siteman-Garland, and remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.